Orleans Opera's sensational fall season continues in November with Giuseppe Verdi's Macbeth. Joining the worldwide celebration of Shakespeare in 2016, New Orleans Opera is excited to present his most popular early masterpiece. The story, described by Verdi as one of mankind's greatest creations, is a classic thriller of power, greed, and the destructive costs of tyrannical ambition. Set to Verdi's gripping and ferocious music is a spellbinding opera with musical fireworks and stunning drama. On a barren heath in medieval Scotland, three groups of witches gather to exchange news. Two generals, Macbeth and Banquo, appear and greet the witches, who hail Macbeth as Thane of Glamis, Thane of Cawdor, and King of Scotland, adding that Banquo will sire a race of kings. The witches suddenly vanish, leaving the two men completely perplexed. Messengers arrive with word that the king has awarded to Macbeth the title Thane of Cawdor, fulfilling the witches' predictions. After the men leave, the witches return briefly, agreeing to meet again when the hurly-burly's done. In Macbeth's castle, Lady Macbeth reads a letter from her husband telling of the meeting with the witches. She pledges herself to spur his ambition for the throne. When a servant announces that King Duncan is to arrive that night with Macbeth, she calls on the ministers of hell to aid her plan. After Macbeth arrives, she tells him they must strike that very night. Duncan arrives, accompanied by his attendants, and is shown to his room by Lady Macbeth. Macbeth sees a vision of a dagger before him and, signaled by the night bell, goes to perform the murder. On his return, he tells his wife how unnerved he is by his act, while she retorts that he only needs the greater courage of a woman. She takes the dagger herself to smear Duncan's sleeping guards with blood to make them seem the murderers. A knock at the castle gate terrifies the guilty Macbeth, and when Lady Macbeth returns, they both quietly withdraw as Macduff and Banquo enter. Macduff goes to awaken the king and discovers the murder, rousing everyone in the castle as Macbeth and Lady Macbeth hypocritically join in the common expression of horror and shock. Macbeth has been named king thanks to the flight to England of Duncan's son Malcolm, who is assumed to have plotted the murder of his father. Worried about the prophecy that Banquo's heirs will rule, Macbeth plots with his wife to kill Banquo and his son Fleance that same night. Macbeth goes to arrange the deed as Lady Macbeth welcomes the approaching darkness. In a park outside the castle, assassins gather to carry out Macbeth's orders. They too welcome the darkness to cover their foul deed. They hide as Banquo approaches, warning his son of very strange forebodings. The assassins emerge to murder him, but his son Fleance is able to escape. Later that evening, a great state dinner is being held, and in the banquet hall, Lady Macbeth welcomes the court, offering a drinking song. Aside, Macbeth receives word that Banquo is dead, but that Fleance has escaped. Turning to the guests, Macbeth expresses his regret at Banquo's absence and moves to take his seat, only to find it occupied by the ghost of the dead man. His horrified reaction causes the other nobles to inquire about what is wrong with Macbeth, as his wife makes excuses, saying he is sometimes prey to seizures. She tries to resume the drinking song, but soon afterward Macbeth again sees Banquo's ghost and cries out that he must revisit the witches. Macduff privately vows to leave the country, which he mutters is now ruled by murderers, as the courtiers wonder about the cause of Macbeth's strange behavior. On the heath, the witches add infernal ingredients to their cauldron, invoking the powers of darkness. Macbeth enters their lair demanding more prophecies. They conjure up a warrior's head, which warns Macbeth to beware of Macduff. Next, they conjure the vision of a bloody child, who tells him that no man of woman born can harm him. And then a crowned child carrying a bough, which says Macbeth will be invincible till Birnam Wood shall come to Dunsinane. Macbeth insists on knowing whether Banquo's heirs will rule. The witches reveal a procession of 8 future kings, followed by Banquo holding a mirror. When Macbeth swoons at the sight, the witches summon Hecate and the spirits of the air to revive him. Then they disappear. Repeating the prophecies, he resolves to kill Macduff and his family, as well as Banquo's son. Macbeth has murdered Macduff's wife and children, while near Birnam Wood and the English border, Scottish refugees bemoan their country's fate. Macbeth laments the slaughter of his wife and children, wishing he had been there to defend them. Malcolm appears at the head of British forces, and all pledge to overthrow the tyrant Macbeth. In Macbeth's castle, a physician and lady-in-waiting watch for the appearance of Lady Macbeth, who nightly enters sleepwalking, reliving the murders and muttering that there is still blood on her hands that all the perfumes of Arabia cannot cleanse or sweeten. Alone, Macbeth prepares to meet his foes, knowing he will never live to enjoy a peaceful old age. Servants rush in to tell him that Lady Macbeth has died and that, amazingly, Birnam Wood appears to be moving toward the castle. He grabs his arms and summons his followers. Noises of combat are heard, and the soldiers led by Malcolm appear, having camouflaged themselves with tree branches. Macduff confronts Macbeth, who scorns him, saying that no man of woman born can harm him, whereupon Macduff announces he had a caesarean birth and was untimely ripped from his mother's womb. The two men fight, and the dying Macbeth falls to the ground, cursing the day he met the witches. Malcolm leads in the victorious soldiers to meet Macduff, who brandishes the severed head of Macbeth. All rejoice in the usurper's death and the liberation of their land, hailing Malcolm as their rightful king. Macbeth will be performed in 2 acts with 1 intermission. It will be sung in Italian with English text projected above the stage. Performances will be Friday, November 11th, 2016 at 8 p.m. and Sunday, November 13th at 2:30 p.m. at the Mahalia Jackson Theater for the Performing Arts. For more information about this or other productions, please go to neworleansopera.org. Macbeth. Ambition can get bloody.